Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Whole Health with Rob Carney podcast. And on this episode, we have a very special guest, one of the co-founders of Ice and Iron, Jordan Chartier. So Jordan is a health and movement coach from Brockton, Massachusetts, where he grew up playing baseball, hockey, and golf. So by playing sports, this instilled an understanding of the importance of community and collaboration. So he graduated from Brockton High School and then moved on to study exercise science at Bridgewater State University. And as a student of life, he then went on to study the C.H.E.K Institute for his Holistic Lifestyle Coaching Level 1 in 2018 and Golf Performance Specialist in 2019. He also had studied at the TPI Titliest Performance Institute for Golf in 2017 to work with golf-specific clients. And currently, Jordan is a health and movement coach at the Harmon Golf Club in Rockland, Mass. Jordan sees the body as a system of systems, thus helping clients gain awareness and clarity so they can foster lasting lifestyle changes. So he dreams of helping people help themselves and making the world a better place for all living beings, which is exactly what he's doing. And I've had the great pleasure of becoming very close with Jordan over the past few months as we've been creating Ice and Iron, as we've been building the community, and we've really, I think, helped each other quite a bit in our own personal development, as he is so incredibly knowledgeable about all things movement, all things health. So it's been great to be able to pick his brain in person, and I hope that you can get as much value as I've gotten from him on this podcast. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, everyone, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jordan to the show. Jordan, welcome aboard, my friend.
Rob, my pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. So as we just introduced, you're a big proponent of health. You're very well versed in the world of holistic health, of fitness. So I'd love to hear, and I'm sure our audience will love to hear, what's your story? How'd you get from A to B? Where did it all begin, and how'd you get to where you are today?
Well, I would say it all started back in, my earlier days. I grew up playing sports, grew up playing baseball, like every other kid playing soccer. I was more into golf, played hockey, like I said, basketball, all team sports. So being around athletes my whole life, I always consider myself an athlete, and I just love movement in general. So I played sports throughout all of high school and moved on to Bridgewater State. I studied there for a exercise science program, and while I was at Bridgewater State, actually I was going to study PT, and I ended up working at a PT clinic for 4 years, which was a great experience for me. I learned a lot there, and I also learned enough that I did not want to be a physical therapist, and I wanted to pursue health, because of my upbringing with what I've seen in my community and my family. So I wanted to help people help themselves beyond the scope of, this guy has a bad knee, let's treat his knee. Well, as you know, it's more of a global issue. So I want to get to the root issue of things. So that's what pursued me to, really study health on my own and learn more about how I can help others help themselves.
Very nice, brother. And so obviously on Instagram, you are the C.H.E.K golf coach. How did
Sure.
that come about? What does golf mean to you? Because it wasn't until I met you and started hanging out with you and talking with Eddie and just hearing you guys talk about golf and listening to our mutual friend Zavi, him talking about golf. And before I was kind of like, golf's so boring. To me, it was something, because again, I was like you. I played basketball. I was a swimmer. It was a go, go, go. It was a very yang sport. So I'd love to hear your perspective on how the C.H.E.K golf coach came to an existence.
Yeah, the name, it's a cool name. It's kind of unique and funny, which is, if you can see me on video, that's what I'm going for. The Chi golf coach to me means, okay, let's break it down into a few parts. Chi is our energy, our subtle energy. So when I'm talking with people, whether it be clients or people in the gym, I'll often use this wording. I'll say, I don't think chi is too big of a word for you. And then I'll tell them, but we're talking about our energy, and I'll get started with that to just plant the seed of what chi is. So chi, as you know, it's our life force, our energy. So that's just a simple but deep and profound word. So that resonated with me. Golf being a wonderful sport that, I feel we can learn a lot of life lessons from. Never mind patience, decision making, ethics. There's all these things that we can glean on the golf course. And then a coach is a wonderful avenue to take, because I think Michelangelo said it best. I actually had this in my notes. I'd like to share this with you. Michelangelo said, "I saw an angel in the stone and carved to set it free." So a coach is like peeling back the layers. It's it's bringing awareness, right? So that's what I see myself as, someone who can help others help themselves. And I know this might be a long-winded answer. I'm not even dead set on the name, to be real with you, Rob. But I guess to keep it simple, our boy Eddie Madden helped me discover this very recently. Very recently.
I love it. And I think what's important too, as you touched on, is that it's like almost like a three-part approach. And I think I like you broke down every part of every word in that name too, which I think is a cool thing. I like the part about the coaching peeling back the onion. And
Mm,
so what I found working with you, and as we've talked on many occasions where I've had a string of injuries that have led to
mm.
muscle imbalances and overcompensations. And just as you've really helped me with my form in terms of a lot of different movements, I'd love to hear, when you're working with clients in the gym, what is, I'd say, the most common challenge that people face in terms of their movement?
Mm. Well, I guess what's coming up right now is lack of awareness, lack of bodily awareness. So, I could take it back to the HLC days, where our posture and our habits and our thinking are on the deeper levels, right? They're in our subconscious. And that's what I'm getting at here, is a lot of people aren't aware of their posture, never mind their thoughts and habits, right? Just not aware of, maybe I have so much weight on this side of my body because I broke my right foot a couple of years ago, that led to an imbalance and led me to compensate elsewhere, right? So I'd say lack of awareness. Honestly, that's sensory motor amnesia. So for example, I'll work with someone who has back pain, and a simple test would be, do a pelvic tilt. Tilt your pelvis forward. So if you had a bowl, we're going to spill the water on the front of the leg, or a posterior tilt, right? They don't even know how to do that, Rob. Something that you and I may think is very easy and simple, just don't have the awareness, really. So I think trying to get back to basics with people is a big step, in terms of, never mind movement, just wellness. Let's get back to basics. So I'd say awareness, postural awareness, and really just the primal pattern moves: push, pull, lunge, twist, gait, the basic things that we do in the real world. Most people are way off. And if they don't have a mirror in front of them or a trained set of eyes, they think they're doing it right, but they're just digging themselves in a hole, essentially. So I want to help people not dig themselves in a hole. And that's what I see in the gym. When I observe, I try not to be critical and judgmental, but you know what? Sometimes it can be difficult, because you just watch people like, what possessed you to do that, right? You think you're watching one of those funny videos online where you see the gym, the gym skits, and
Yep.
everyone's brain is spinning. Oh, look at, thinking about the lady who's doing the leg press, and that's a scary video, where the knees buckle under. And then there's some funny, ironic things. But yeah, a lot of people just don't have awareness and a purpose in the gym. I think that's something too. Go in there with a goal, right? What's your goal in the gym?
I think I love everything you just said there. I think from my own personal experience, I can say much of my exercise was self-taught by watching YouTube videos, which
Mm-hmm.
is a great resource. However, there's no one there to say, hey, tilt your pelvis forward a little bit. Hey, engage your core a little bit. Hey, engage your whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that is definitely a big factor in what's led to injuries for me,
Mm-hmm.
is that I was teaching myself and I was basing on what I saw online, But a lot of these people aren't talking about the small structural modifications that we need to do for these exercises. And beyond that, they're not talking about the years of preparation they got to even do that exercise. Like, I'm sure you're not having someone who's never lifted a weight doing a clean and jerk on their first day. And I think that's a common thing we see. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Like, they're hucking up all this weight, and it's like, we want to do that. And the same thing with simple yet complex exercises like the deadlift or a squat, which are two of the most, in my opinion, powerful exercise we can use for full body strength. However, there's so many little modifications that we need to find to make that an effective exercise. And so you touched on something that you are more focused on helping people bring to a state of wellness rather than just focusing on their just fitness, that one aspect. So what does the word wellness mean to you in your definition?
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking that. And, that's a pretty deep question. I'll do my best to keep it simple, not be too long-winded. I guess wellness to me is being in the middle. So having balance, right? We talk about yin, we talk about yang, we talk about night and day, cool and hot, up, down, left, right. We got to be, ideally, we're in somewhere in the middle. So we're going to balance flexibility and strength. Because if all people do is stretch their muscles, they're going to be like Gumby. But if all they do is lift weights and they can't, scratch their back and do whatever else we have to do that's functional, then yeah, you're not, it's like a guitar. You're out of string. You're out of tune, right? So yeah, to me, it's just being in the middle path, the Zen way, right?
And I think that's a beautiful definition, because I can say from my own experience where, like, after I had my concussion when I was 17, I started getting into a lot of yoga. And I went from being tight and I was always flexible, but I went to a new level of flexibility that I, to this day, am still recognizing I'm overly flexible in a lot of areas because of things like yoga. In the westernization of that yoga, we've tend to make it too much. We're not finding that balance where yoga is meant to be you go inward, you tune into your breath, you find that balance, you're breathing, you're moving. But we've really westernized it. Like, when I was doing a lot of power yoga classes, my hamstrings would be fried. I was overstretching them, also trying to strengthen them. It was just this weird duality that didn't quite make sense. In hindsight, I would walk away and I'd be sore for like 6 days, but it was like a painful sore. It wasn't a good sore. It wasn't like I worked my muscles out effectively. It was like something is wrong here.
Right.
And I've really noticed that I think a lot of my injuries stem from the fact of being overly flexible, which I attribute to doing, I don't want to say too much yoga, but the wrong types of yoga for my body, I think, is the best way I would put it. And so what do you recommend in terms of someone finding balance within their physique? Because obviously it's a combination of strength training, maybe a little cardio, some stretching. What is your thought on finding that perfect balance for the individual?
Yeah. Well, to go down that, I would say, first off, let's get back to what's your objective, what's your vision, what's your goal. So if you're in your 20s and you're a kid, an adult, whatever you deem yourself, I'm 27, I still call myself a kid. But, my goal is to be healthy. My goal is to be pain-free and be able to enjoy my life and work on building a family and, being financially independent while making the world a better place for all living beings. So my goal is to be out of pain and be able to do what I want to do. So yeah, let's think about that. I'm not going to go to the gym and put myself in harm's way by doing fancy stuff. I'm not saying I don't do big compound moves, because deadlifting is my favorite exercise, right? But if I'm in there and I'm trying to do fancy stuff I saw on Instagram, just because it looks cool and it's shiny, right? People love shiny stuff in the Western world, as you know, Rob. Then, I'm not doing myself much justice. So I would say, first off, get in touch with yourself, get centered, figure out what's your goal, what's your objective in the gym. Then from there, if you can't do your own research, and I'm not saying that you can or cannot, my invitation would be to look up someone that's a skilled whether it be a C.H.E.K movement coach, health coach, or at least someone that you have faith in and you could literally emulate this person, you know, not just because this guy has a lot of followers online and, you know, he looks good with his shirt off, because there's more to being healthy. There's more to being whole than, hey, look at me. I take my shirt off. I have a six-pack. Listen to everything I say. Do these workouts. That's not my opinion, because we live in an era when there's fit, sick people, right?
Yes, I was just going to say that. A lot of
Fit,
bodybuilders are some of the most sick people out there.
correct. And, you know, I grew up lifting weights in high school. I used to go to Workout World. I still love that place. Um, you know, good community in there. And that was a kind of a bodybuilding gym. Not to say there wasn't a lot of athletes there, but if we want to maybe go down that rabbit hole for a second, bodybuilders, I heard a guy say this, Rob, they look like Tarzan and play like Jane, right? I believe that
I
was
like
Steve
that.
Maxwell. And, you know, that's a really deep and profound way to look at it, because personally, yeah, I want to look good at the beach. I want to have confident physique and posture and all these things. But personally, I would rather be stronger than I look than look stronger than I
Definitely.
am. That's my goal and my thought with it. So I focus on strength
Mm.
personally. And I guess I'm going to do my best to wrap the question up by saying focus on your goals. And if you can't look up a couple great resources from, I would maybe have people look up someone like Kelly Starrett. You know, he wrote the book called The Supple Leopard. And then, you know, definitely I would invite people to look up Paul Chek's work, guys like Ben Greenfield. There's a long, long list of people we could throw out there, but find an expert,
Mm.
literally. Find someone who's an elder, who knows more than you. Because if you
Mm.
know more about something than I do, I'm happy, right? I'm so happy to listen to you and take in as much information as I can. You and I, we have a lot in common, right? We're like a dry sponge where we're just trying to soak up information. So I would say look for someone that knows a bit more than you do and apply what you can from them, right?
Right on. And I think one of the most important things you said there, amongst all the gems you just threw out, I think is the fact of having a goal and an objective, a purpose. Because obviously, if you want to be an Olympic swimmer, that's
Mm,
going to be very different than being a strongman. Those are two very different type of training regimens that if
mm,
you're just trying to get big, you're trying to get strong, you're trying to do all these things. It's like, why?
right.
What do you want to be getting stronger for? And I
Mm,
think for you and I, we want to be functional. We want to be able to do things like hiking. We want to be able to do things like handstands, body weight activities, pull-ups, mace training. And I'm speaking for myself, but knowing what I know about you, I think it's more about being functional, being strong, and being overall healthy. But that's not going to be everyone's goal. As we said, someone might want to be the next Michael Phelps. They're going to train differently than we do. They might want to be the next strongman. They're going to train differently than we do. So
right.
I think it's very important, as you said, to have that goal. And
Hmm.
so, with that being said, obviously fitness goes beyond the gym. Fitness goes beyond the training. And what I've learned is that it's actually likely more important things we do outside the gym than what we do in the gym. Obviously, yes, we have to move if we want our muscles to grow. But
Hmm.
what are a lot of things that you do? I know you're a big proponent of foam rolling. What are some other techniques that you do to keep your body strong and healthy after or outside the gym in general?
Mm, yeah. Thank you for that. That's a deep question again. And I'm going to do my best to get right to it. Get back to the basics. Let's keep the balance. For anybody that's not studied Chek's work, Paul Chek's work, the six foundation principles. Get back to the basics. Thinking, moving, breathing, rest, hydration, and nutrition. Those are six things that we could probably talk about for 6 hours right now, but we could keep it to about 60 seconds and just talk about do these things to the best of your abilities, right? Get clean water, breathe fresh air, think positively, get good rest, right? And with movement, this is a big thing I learned after I told you I broke my foot a couple of years ago. We've had this chat in person. Learning to work in and really honoring the working in periods, Rob. That's one of the biggest things I learned. And I say this to people all the time. I experience it almost on a daily basis. If I don't go and work in, then I generally don't have the energy or capacity to go and push myself to do more weight or maybe an extra couple reps or whatever it may be, and feel safe, like I'm not going to hurt myself, like I got this, you know, the feeling of, yeah, I got this one. Right? Not an ego thing, like my body knows, yeah, I'm capable of doing 1 to 3% more, which is something I hear C.H.E.K quoting all the time. I forget which guy he says, but he says, if your body's not ready to go in the gym and exceed by 1 to 3% than your last workout, then you should be working in. So yeah, to answer that question, right to it, work in, learn to work in, active meditation, walk.
What are some other things that you do for working in? So let's say you just did some deadlifting. Are you going to work and focus on bringing energy to the legs by doing some stretching, mobilization? What's something you're going to, like, what are some specific techniques you use for working in? And what does working in mean? Because obviously, as a C.H.E.K practitioner, we know what that means, but for the average person, what does working in mean?
Right. Yeah, so let's talk about working in and working out. We have 2 different nervous systems that are tied in our autonomic, right? We have our rest and digest and the fight or flight nervous system. Most people are pretty in tune with this verbiage I'm using. So a work in is going to stimulate that rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's going to deliver more energy to me, right? I'm going to have more energy. I'm cultivating energy. I'm drawing it in. Think of it like I'm drawing energy in with every breath, every movement. I'm bringing energy in. That's a work in. Work out would be the opposite. We're expending energy. We're getting rid of energy. We're doing yard work. We're doing physical labor, moving furniture, right? Heavy weights in the gym, high volume, CrossFit type of workouts. So that's your fight or flight nervous system, which is the yang, right? The yang portion of this world we live in. So that's the easy way to answer it, is you're going to either cultivate energy by working in, or you're going to expend more energy as you work out. And to answer your question with the deadlifts, I wouldn't say I'll, personally, I'm not going to target my legs like, oh, I'm going to do a breathing squat after a deadlift. I may do a breathing squat, but I may just do some very simple arm raises. Inhale, exhale. Really, whatever my body tells me. Sometimes I'll do the cross crawl, which is like a standing kind of bird dog, more or less. But I just kind of let my intuition guide me in the middle of a workout and think, what feels good? What does my body want to do now? Sometimes I'll just walk around the gym, just take a little lap, go outside. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I think that that's something I've learned. Again, the pain teacher is a great teacher. And I think that's something that has been very valuable to me, is when I was working out a lot and gaining a lot of muscle for the first time ever, I was a swimmer, so I was always lean. And all of a sudden I put on about 24 pounds in like 4 months, which was to me unheard of. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, because just for a little background for the listeners, this is when I lived in LA. The CEO of the company I was working with, he was the number 3 wrestler in the country for ages 58 to 60. He's 59 years old, so he looked like Superman. He's this giant dude. He's training me. So of course, when you have someone who actually knows, when I was always self-taught, you're actually going to get some results. And so as I was getting these results, I was so yang. I was like, and he was the mentality of no pain, no gain, which again, he's had a string of injuries as well. So it was like, well, I scheduled today, was supposed to be doing pull-ups today. Today's back day. But the fact of the matter is my shoulders are still sore. My core is still sore from the day before. I couldn't stabilize my back, I'm certain. So I'm compensating. I'm doing things with poor form. And so I was not listening to my body, which is what led to this torn muscle in my back. And
Hmm.
so what I really do now, and I've learned a lot of this from you as well, is that if my body says don't work out, don't work out. Do some working in. Just because you have it written down on your piece of paper that today's back day doesn't mean you have to do back day. Maybe you'll have a much better workout if you work in today than do that workout tomorrow. Or maybe you need 2 days off. There's been times now where I'll take 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off from working out because my body is either overly tired, it's overly stressed, it's inflamed. And by adding more fire to that bonfire that's built up in the body in the case of inflammation, stress, and being tired, that's just going to make things worse. That's a recipe for disaster. And so if someone comes to you and says, look, Jordan, I really want to get back into shape, but they're coming to you inflamed, they're coming to you overtired, overstressed. You can tell that they're just swollen as a whole. They're not in a healthy state.
Mm.
And we're talking about wellness here.
Mm.
What's something you tell the average individual, again, the average individual being overstressed, overtired, overworked, inflamed? What's the most basic steps they can take to finding balance?
Well, I would first address how much, a couple things we would address. What's the movement quality and quantity they're doing right now? So if they're already burnt out and tired and inflamed and all these verbs we could throw out there that are not going to be conducive with health, then yeah, I'm not going to give them a hard routine. I'm going to give them a program that's going to cultivate that energy. So I'm going to invite them to get out in the morning sun, take a walk. I'm going to invite them to get barefoot on the ground and get grounded. I'm going to talk about the benefits of being in contact with the earth. You know, basic things that we know in the field of health and wellness help us achieve that balance. So I'm not going to tell them not to work out, but I'm absolutely going to recommend and invite them to consider mastering their body weight, right? Master your body weight. I meant to throw that out there earlier as well. That you're not going to really hurt yourself, or you're dramatically going to reduce the chance of an injury if you are exercising your body weight. You know, if you're crawling on the ground and rolling and doing cartwheels and running in the field like we did a couple of weeks ago, right? You're not going to hurt yourself, even if you're barefoot. I told some of my clients that, oh yeah, I was running in the woods barefoot. Aren't you worried you're going to hurt yourself? I said, no, I'm not. You know, my feet are awake and they're alive. So get back to the basics, master your body weight, right?
Beautiful.
Get outside, get outdoors, basic stuff.
I think that's what it comes down to. And I get similar reactions where if I'm walking in a park barefoot, people like, and I'm walking on rocks and stuff, they're like, oh, like, doesn't that hurt? Like, why would you be? It's like, look, first of all, we won't even go into the whole benefits of earthing, being connected to the earth and what that can do for a body. But second of all, feeling all those sensations, like you step on a sharp rock, that gives, at least it gives me a surge of energy in my entire body. It's like, hey, bro, you're stepping something sharp. Be more in tune with your body. Be more aware. Be more mindful. And then chances are I'm probably not going to step many more sharp rocks. So now I'm more aware. Maybe my thoughts were lingering. I was looking at all these different things. I wasn't very present. And then that sensation of stepping on that sharp rock grounds you instantly. And it's that discomfort, that little bit of pain, which can be very great at teaching us to be here, inward, as opposed to out externally. And so when it comes down to basics, as we were saying, a lot of that's what it is. It's getting out in the sun. It's breathing effectively through the nose, not mouth breathing in the chest. Because as you talked about earlier, the fight or flight mode, if we're breathing shallowly in through the mouth, into the chest, that's simulating the fight or flight response. That's what we do when we're huffing and puffing, trying to run away from a predator. That's not a place we want to be in. That's a place where most of us are living now because we are in the state of chronic stress. And I would like to hear, obviously we talked about Tai Chi, we've talked about movement, we talked about the basics. What are some stress relieving techniques that you use? Because obviously we're currently living in interesting times with this whole quarantine activity going on. And as we've talked about, regardless how self-aware we are, regardless how mindful we are, regardless of how well we take care of ourselves, the stress is affecting us at some level, consciously or subconsciously. So what are some things that you are doing yourself and may recommend to others to help combat that stress and come back to balance?
Yeah, that's a deep one again. And right now, with what's going on in this world, Rob, I feel more important than ever to be centered, to be present, and to have gratitude. So for me, having gratitude is one of the most important and simple things you can do. Like, how hard is it to just be thankful to have water, to have food,
The
to have
basics.
the ability to see, the ability to hear? I'll often say out loud what I feel lucky for. So that practice right there is something, again, simple but very profound benefits, because it immediately changes your vibration, right? People talk about your vibration. This person has good vibes, or, we're doing our great meetups, right? And someone I would consider a friend at the Ice and Iron event said this, Rob, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I begin the phrase. He said, your vibe attracts your tribe. Now, what I'm getting at here with the thought of changing your vibration by expressing gratitude is your vibe, right? People think that's a hippy dippy, a woo woo word. That's a short word for your vibration, right? So we're raising our vibration by expressing gratitude. Or how about something like a positive affirmation, which is literally saying, I feel lucky for this, or I am happy, I am healthy, I am strong. Getting rid of the self-limiting beliefs. And then, yeah, of course, go back to breath work and all the things we were just discussing earlier. But I think having gratitude is one of the most important things to just remind you of how lucky we really are. Like, we live in the most amazing time ever. And while it's crazy what's going on, and we've never experienced anything like this, I don't know if we ever will again, hopefully not. But yeah, it's an interesting time to just reflect on, like, how lucky we still are.
I agree. And one thing on top of the gratitude, I was just listening to David Avocado Wolf and Paul C.H.E.K released a podcast together. And one thing that David Wolf always says, he says, this is the best day ever. And I like that a lot, because it was one of those things. It's a form of gratitude. It's like, wow, this day is so great. And so I went for a walk yesterday, and it was cold, it was cloudy, and then the sun came out. And I remember that. I was like, wow, and I told myself, like, wow, this is the best day ever. And instantly my mood changed. I started looking for all the good things that would make this the best day ever. I was like, wow, look at those two ducks over there in the pond. They just flew away. That was pretty cool looking. Oh, look at that. That guy's having a great time on his jock. He's smiling while he's running. Look at those two kids. They're playing. They're adventuring. They're going into the mud. I wish I could play with them in the mud. That sounds pretty fun. Like, This is the best day ever. And that's something I'm going to start using in my daily life in addition to the gratitude, because I thought that was a very cool phrase that's very simple, but as he stated, is that in one form, it takes away our control over the outcome, and it leaves open to what else. This is the best day ever. Oh, really? Let's make that even better. So I thought that was a cool way of phrasing as well. So by focusing on gratitude and really recognizing that all we have is this present moment. At the end of the day, we can reflect on the past all we want. We can learn from the past, but we can't change the past.
No.
We can project the future by building the present moments to get there. But when we live in the future, that future is not going to happen because we're so out of touch with the present moment.
Right.
And I think that one thing that I can say is when we're doing things like the ice baths, and what I tell people is there's no faster way to get into the present moment than to hop in a tub that's 34, maybe 33 degrees full of ice.
Right.
Anything you're thinking of, any stress that's going on, that's going away because you're worried about you're worried about surviving in a sense. You're worried about getting here, breathing, and dropping into that meditative state. And I think that that has been one of the most powerful tools in my arsenal is cold exposure. for
Right.
that reason, is that beyond the fact that it's great for inflammation, it's great for helping your blood flow, it's great for breathing, all that type of stuff. At the end of the day, it's a meditation for me. And people can say, how the hell can you meditate in the cold? But that's the whole point, is that you're centering yourself and you're grounding yourself. So on that topic, I would love to hear your interesting techniques. Like, let's say barefoot walking is one, cold showers or cold showers is one. What's something that most people don't do that Jordan does on a regular basis to ground himself?
Okay.
Because I know you got some cool ones, and I wanna bring them out here.
Well, I really love that one. And I'm loving the way this whole interview is flowing organically, of course. Yeah, personally, I do my best to connect with plants. Like I have a few house plants at home that I love. I have a giant tree that I'm going to go shoot a video with soon because I'm on social media now, right? But in all sincerity, connecting to wildlife, connecting to nature. Like I'll literally put my hand on a tree and say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this might sound like, who's this hippie? You know, what's up with, you know, who does that, right? But for me, I know that that plant is alive just
Mm-hmm.
as much as you and I are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And without these trees producing oxygen for us, right, we wouldn't be here, or we'd be more sick than you know the collective is today. So I'll try to connect with nature daily. I'll put my hand on a tree. I'll say thank you. I'll say I love you. You know, that's something that I've been doing over the past couple of years. That it brings a lot of just stillness. You know, to almost like imagine that you're connecting with this being that's 10, like who knows, 10 times older than I am, couple hundred years old. This tree is, you know, bigger than a woman with triplets. It's enormous, right? And I have the opportunity to go and hang out with it for a second. That's cool. So that's one thing I'll often do. Getting in the sunlight as much as I can. You know, I heard our boy Ra of Earth the other night, and I've been setting the intention this year that I want to be like the sun god this year and really tap into the, you know, my Native American roots and soak up that vitamin D, because that's going to keep the vibes up instantaneously, right?
Absolutely. And on the topic of the sun, I think it's an interesting topic because there's this fear around getting sunburnt, around getting skin cancer. And so we lather on these chemical baths of sunscreen, which who's to say if that's causing the skin cancer or if the sun is? And I'm not a scientist, but I can say since I stopped using sunscreen a few years ago, I've gotten sunburned a handful of times, and the last time I was when I was in Mexico, and that was after I got a massage, so I had oil on me, so I just fried. I mean that was
Right.
that was a not a normal circumstance. But typically, I don't really burn anymore now that I stopped using sunscreen. I think one, that's because my body has adjusted. And I think part of it is also the fact that now, as you said, I try to go out as much as I can. So my body is adapting, learning how to convert that sun into energy and really utilizing it, because I'm not just going out to the beach for 4 hours straight once a week. I'm going out every single day for 15, 30 minutes directly in the sun, often 3 or 4 times a day. So I'm limiting the amount of time that I'm out there, but I'm increasing the frequency that I'm going out. And I found that's been an incredible way to really maximize the benefits from the sun. And I would also just like to know on that note, in terms of the plants and stuff as well, what do you like to use in terms of sun protection? Do you use sun protection when you're out there connecting with the trees, connecting with the plants? Are you meditating with them? What's your practice for that?
You know, to be quite frank and just blunt, Rob, I'll literally just be walking by a tree and just put my hand on it. So it's not like I'm hanging out and leaning on the tree, which is cool. Like I've done that for a short period of time. I can't say I practiced that meditation yet, the leaning on a tree meditation, but just when I'm walking my dog up the road, I'll just put my hand on a big giant tree and just give some thanks to it, you know? But to answer the sunblock topic, one thing I wanted to interject and kind of build on with you is Naomi Whittel. She wrote the book. It's called Glow 15, I want to say. And she's a really intelligent woman. I heard her on Ben Greenfield's podcast, and can't come up with the other guy's name. But what she dropped is really interesting about sunscreen. She's talking about women putting on products, right? I want to say women put up to 500 chemicals on their skin daily. Okay. Now, one thing I do know for a fact, and I can quote her research right now, our skin absorbs 60% of what we put onto it. 60%. So we don't like to eat food that has more than 5 ingredients, maybe? I would just invite anyone at home to look at their commercial skincare products right now, their bath soaps, even their toothpaste. This is a rabbit hole conversation we could go down that I don't think we're going to just yet. But I would just say the less ingredients, the better. And no, I don't use like any sunscreen, to be honest. Just like you, I'm out there for 20 minutes. I'll be all right. If I'm at the beach and I maybe got roasted one day, yeah, that's not smart. You could probably consider getting a cleaner sunblock, something that's better for the ocean, right? Something that's not going to kill the Great Barrier Reef, which is another interesting topic, but something that's a little more ethical. Yeah, I don't use any sunscreen either, bro.
I'll tell you, I use coconut oil, and it's an interesting twist because it's an oil, so it's almost attracting more sunlight to you, but it has an SPF. I think it's 4 or 6. It's a single-digit number, which obviously that's not going to protect you if you haven't been in the sun in 6 months. Then you go out there, you're going to get roasted. But I found on the days that I go to the beach and I know I'm going to be out there for more than a few hours, if I use that. And then it's just about being smart and just like I'll put on a hat or I'll put on a shirt or something that's just protecting me. Like once I feel, all right, it's getting pretty hot, well, they're putting on some more coconut oil, throw on a shirt, put on a hat, whatever. And that just comes down to bodily awareness, which is how this whole thing started, is listening to our body and being in tune with the signs and symptoms that it's giving us. If we're feeling hot, we're probably getting too hot, and we should probably cover up or do something to change that sensation.
Right.
So just as we're coming full circle here, I'd love to know what are 3 things that you do every single day that are non-negotiable? Like what are your staples in your daily life, or let's say weekly? If one of them is exercise, you're not exercising every day, you take a rest day. Like what are the staples of a week with you?
Yeah. Well, to build on your last point, I don't know how I forgot the coconut oil. Yeah, I've used coconut oil probably every day for the past 4 or 5 years on my skin, in my mouth, any and everywhere. It's after a shave. It's very beneficial for oral health. So yeah, coconut oil is an amazing product, and I'm a huge advocate of that for skincare and just overall hygiene. But to address this one, first thing I would say is I love walking just to move our energy. Like we talked about earlier, it's an active meditation. I told you how I broke my foot a few years back. I actually broke it, right? Lesson from the pain teacher, when my body said, just walk home. I'm walking my dog home, didn't have her on a leash, just was about to go to the gym. And I started jogging. Boom, rolled the ankle, broke my foot, right? So walking for me is something I am so thankful to do pain-free. So walking just to get out there and move, because I can move, right? I have the ability to use my body to walk and use every muscle in my body together. Walking is on that list. 1. 2, cold therapy. I've been taking a cold shower every day for the past, I don't know how long. It started a couple years ago after I took was actually before I even heard of Wim Hof, Rob. I was taking the Titliest Performance Institute. That's a golf kind of workshop, TPI. And one of the guys there, presenter, his name's Coach Jason Glass. Very intelligent guy, funny dude. Long story short, he brought up the benefits of a cold shower and how it's actually a mind, like a mental thing where it's mind over matter, right? And he was talking about a Navy SEAL doing 10 seconds on and then warming it back up. And I thought, that's super easy. Who can't do that, right? Anybody can do that. So cold therapy is on the list. Now I've just been jumping in cold because we're taking ice baths, and it's not as bad as you think once you control the breath. So walking, cold therapy, and being mindful of what I'm putting in my body. From first thing I do when I wake up is oil pull, scrape my tongue, and then I'm drinking a ton of spring water. So it's got to be what I'm putting in my body as that third bullet point, so to speak, where I'm drinking spring water. I'm expressing gratitude to my water, which is a deeper conversation in itself. Someone may think, wow, you say, I love you to your water. Wait, you hold your water and say, thank you, I love you. You do that? I was telling one of my clients in the gym that he said, don't let me catch you doing that. He's kind of chuckling. And I'm like, okay, I won't. Like, I do it all day, you know? And I was talking with our boy, Chef Coach, yesterday. Guess what, Rob? And everybody that's listening, the millions of people that are listening right now, this water is me, right? It is me. So I'm thanking this water as it enters my system. My body recognizes it. It's more harmonized. It's not chaos, right? So being mindful of what you put in your body is the third one. So move daily, cold therapy, at least a little cold shower, you know, and being mindful of what I put in my body, from hydration to obviously best quality food I can find and source and afford, because what price is your health, right? You're going to pay for it now, or you're going to pay for it with palliative care, meaning putting Band-Aids over the big issue, which is at the root, right?
Perfect.
Those are my top three, brother.
I love it. And just something that you sparked in me when you talked about the water. I think a very important yet underappreciated aspect of overall health and nutrition is how we're eating and the environment that we're eating in, because I've really noticed that I can't eat in a stressful environment anymore because I don't digest well. My body loses its appetite. And to me, there's been times where I've literally gone, if there's a lot of people, I'll leave the room and go eat by myself so I can breathe, I can ground myself, I can relax, I can appreciate the food. And as you said, I like to kind of I like to use my Reiki hands over my food. I like to give it a little love, give it a little appreciation, and just send intention. Be like, I'm grateful for this food. But it's almost like a prayer. Like, I'm grateful for this food I'm about to put in my body. Like, thank you to the farmer who helped create this. And again, that prayer, sometimes if I'm not feeling it, I was like, oh, that's 5 seconds. Sometimes it's 30 seconds. Sometimes a few minutes. It's kind of just, again, whatever comes out of me at that moment. And I think that's a very important piece there. So I just want to share that to all the people listening, is that try to be just a little bit more mindful of the environment that you're in while you're eating, and even drinking water. I think that it's great that a lot of people are drinking more water. With that being said, let's be, as Jordan just perfectly said, let's be very mindful when we're about to put that water in our system. Let's just not slug it back, chug some water, move on with that day. Let's take a moment to pause and breathe and recognize this is about to become us. Our body's about 70% water. It already is us. This is part of us. So let's appreciate that. Let's recognize that. Let's do it in a mindful way. So
it's beautiful.
Just want to wrap that point up there. And any last comments on that, and then one take-home message for the audience, and then we'll wrap it up.
So that was beautiful what you said, and to finalize that, there's a Taoist saying that resonated with me years ago, because who hasn't had some stomach troubles in their, you know, in their experience on their health journey, right? Pretty much everybody, I think, today has had a bout of, whether it be someone diagnosing with IBS or leaky bowel, whatever it may be. This is the Taoist saying that really changed my perspective on eating and just nourishment in general. To chew your water and drink your food. So
Yes,
if
yes, yes.
if we just meditate on that for like maybe one breath, what is that doing? It's helping us slow down. It's helping us to process this energy and information, which is what food and water are. It's not just, it's not just calories in, calories out. No, no. If you're eating whole food that is grown in a clean manner, i.e. organic, hopefully if we can local or on our own, which is the best thing we can do is grow our own food and herbs and so on, then there's information, it's energy and information that becomes your connective tissue, that becomes your organs, that becomes your skin, right? So don't slug the water while you eat, guys. This would be my tip as well, is maybe have 2 to 4 ounces before a meal, maybe a sip during a meal. But when I eat a meal, Rob, yeah, I like a quiet zone myself. I've had that experience many times when I was moving furniture, when I didn't really want to be eating around people or in the middle of the day, because I know I'm still doing a ton more, heavy lifting. But yeah, don't be slugging water, guys. Don't drink a ton of water as you eat, because I can tell you from experience, this is going to lower your stomach acid. So stomach acid is something, the HCl, right? That's where digestion begins, is in the mouth. And I heard you and Zavi touching upon it beautifully the other day with your stress level. So everything's coming full circle. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of your environment, your breath, right? And just having that bit of gratitude goes a long way when eating. So chew your water, drink your food, it goes a long way.
Beautiful, my friend. I love it. And that was something that I heard, that you chew your water, drink your food. And just for anyone who hasn't quite caught on to that, essentially what that means is that if you're slugging water, it's too fast. I put my liquids in my mouth, and as Jordan said, I'm chewing it. Like, I'll have a drink in my mouth sometimes for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I'm holding it in there, getting those digestive enzymes going. So it's not just it's not just a hippy dippy shit. This is backed by science. Like, you get your digestive enzymes going in the mouth. That's where it all starts. So when you hold that liquid in there, it helps your body to absorb it. And then with the food, most people chew like 4 times and then swallow. So over the years, I was always the first one done eating. Now I'm the last one done, because I'm much more mindful. I chew a lot more and I listen to my body. I'm not just shoveling down food and then all of a sudden, oh, I have a stomach ache. It still happens, of course. I'm not perfect, but those times have been much reduced because I'm much more in tune and I'm chewing more and being much more in tune with the body. So,
Mm.
Jordan, any final messages you'd like to leave with our viewers here?
Well, what's coming up now is, first, thanking you, Rob, for having me here and putting this whole program together, because you are connecting people, and I really admire what you're doing. I was speaking with Ed yesterday about the platform you have created and are still creating, and that's inspiring to me. That's why I finally just made a social media page that it's just beginning. It's in the very early stages. I do plan on building a platform, never mind a brand, and really a mission to help the world. I want to help others help themselves and make the world a better place for all living beings while making a living. Not just trade my time for money like most of the world today. So my final message I would like to leave with people, first thing, is to do good and stay grounded. So do good for your own self. Take it. It's sacred to care for yourself. We all know this. If I don't care for myself, I cannot care for anybody else. Anybody else, right? Very simple concept, but very deep and profound. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So do good, stay grounded, And something I realized when I was working in the PT clinic, and I've been saying it to people, I can't even tell you how long now. It's been over a year or two. It just came to me one day, Rob. I'm having conversations with all these people in the PT clinic, and I'd be the one that would give people time of day, right? And they would just kind of, I don't want to say pour their heart out to me. I'm not a therapist, but I don't know. Maybe some people have a trusting feeling with me, whatever that may mean. But you're not alone, right? Anything you're going through, you're not alone, right? There's someone else that's going through the same thing right now, probably in the same community as you, right? Maybe in the same household. So just for me, knowing that I'm not alone in whatever I'm trying to accomplish and get over right now, a lot of people are comforted by that thought. And it's very, very true. Like, you're not alone. You are not alone.
Beautiful, my friend. Thank you for everything you're doing. I appreciate your words. I appreciate you as a person, what you are, what you're being, what you're becoming, what you're creating. So thank you for all the wisdom you share with us. Where can people find you? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So right now you can find me on Instagram. You'll see the C.H.E.K golf coach. It's all one word, just as you would think it. C.H.E.K, C-H-I, golf coach. And that name may or may not change in the next coming months or weeks or years, but that's where I'm at the moment. Of course, look us up on Instagram with the Ice and Iron platform, which is a group, for anybody that's not aware of that, is something that really changed, my life and my daily practices. I was doing the ice baths before, Rob, but since we started going in there, it's been a whole new ball game for me. Like, I was doing cold showers before, rather, but now it's really part of my life, and I'm really digging it. So look me up on Instagram. I'm only going to keep growing, getting better every day, just like you, my friend, and hopefully everybody else. So everyone, keep your heads up. We're only as healthy as the planet is my big message also. So thanks for giving me an opportunity to be here and tell the world that be love. We're only as healthy as the planet.
Wonderful. All right, brother. Appreciate you being here. Everyone, check out Jordan, the C.H.E.K golf coach. And until next time, off we go. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Peace. So thank you for listening to this episode of the Whole Health of Rob Carney podcast with our guest, Jordan Chartier. And so in order to find Jordan, you can search the C.H.E.K golf coach on Instagram. And you can also look up our Ice and Iron group at ice_and_iron. And so between those two platforms, that's a great place to reach Jordan. He's got a lot of great stuff coming out. He's really starting to get onto social media, share his message with the world. So I'd love for you to follow his work, follow our work on Ice and Iron. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by our superfoods. So superfoods are something that really make life a lot easier in terms of getting nutrition. It can be pretty difficult to find nutrient-dense foods that are certified organic, that are grown in a very healthy source from a healthy soil. And so that's what Purium and Mushroom Revival have done for us. Purium has really taken it upon themselves to be stewards of the land as they're going plastic-free by 2021, providing you with organic green juices, biomedic to remove the glyphosate from your gut, and a plethora of other things like vegan amino acids, pre-digested. And we know that the source is pure, we know the soil is clean, and we know where the heart of the owners are. So when you use the code WHOLEHEALTH at checkout, you can save $50 or 25% on your first order. Whatever the greater savings is, that's what you get. And the other one is Mushroom Revival. So Mushroom Revival is with my great friend Alex. If you haven't listened to our podcast together, highly recommend checking that out. Alex Dora is just a plethora of knowledge of all things mushrooms. And so for every product sold in Mushroom Revival, they plant one tree in the Amazon. So if you remember, a number of months ago, we had those devastating forest fires in the Amazon, which wiped out a lot of the trees. Alex is doing his best by planting one tree for every product sold. So you can use the code WHOLEHEALTH at checkout with mushroom-revival.com, and that'll save you 15% on every order. So every time you go to order, make sure you use that Whole Health code, and you'll save 15%. And the other group that I'm excited to announce my partnership with is C.H.E.K. So C.H.E.K protects us from EMFs, and electromagnetic frequencies, which have been shown with more and more research that they're having harmful effects on our body. So when you use the C.H.E.K protector, they're basically a transform, and they transmute the EMF waves into something that's more digestible by the body. So it's not as chaotic in the frequencies. Our body actually knows what to do with them, knows how to get rid of them. And so that's a great way to use an C.H.E.K chip to help transmute a lot of those harmful EMF signals coming in. So you can use the code WHOLEHEALTH, and that'll save you 10% on your order. So when you go to CHEK.com, use the code WHOLEHEALTH, and you'll save 10%. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Please like and subscribe, and tune in for the next one.